Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Tom again with Blue Collar Masculinity, and today I really wanted to talk about one big topic I think that is missing out of a lot of folks today, especially guys, and especially guys in blue collar, and that is purpose. What is purpose? Well, we tend to look at purpose as kind of having a meaning of something or an intent, which is true. However, what you have to look at, I believe, is purpose of what your life is to be. Okay, if you haven't figured out what you want your life to turn out to be, or have some sort of goal state in mind to know that, okay, for instance, I want to retire. Okay, how do we retire these days? Well, it's not so easy. It's not like our parents did, or even their parents, where you work for a company, you put in, and maybe they match your 401, and maybe they give you a pension and everything else. Well, over the years, it's been degrading. I used to be union out of 393, and one of the big things that was never offered really was eye care, and they offered eye care especially because we deal with very expensive, very high-end, very dangerous equipment. And we need our vision, we need our wits, we need everything about us. And so, when we're looking for purpose and the derived purpose, I think what we should be looking at nowadays is more or less, how can we secure our future, and how are we going to secure our future? Securing our future is the purpose, I'd say, of our being. And from that purpose, from the purpose of saying, okay, I'm going to grow old, I'm going to die one day, hopefully I'll have a family, hopefully I'll have a progeny or a legacy, and we can pass on everything that we have learned or, experienced in life. So, when it comes to purpose today, we really need to reevaluate it and say, okay, the old ways are done. The old ways that our fathers worked, our grandfathers worked, those days are just gone. If you put in that 12-hour day like your dad would have done, well, your dad would have been very well compensated. Versus today, unless you're set up in the right environment, maybe you're in a top-end union shop, maybe you are with an employer that really values their employees, and so they really want to take care of them because they understand that the employees are what brings their company value. Unfortunately, those are few and far between. So today, when we think about purpose, I think it's a good idea that we go ahead and start changing the way we see ourselves. What is our purpose in life? Our purpose in life is not to go to work our 8 hours or 12 hours and come home, eat, sleep, and wake up and do it again. That's not the purpose of our life, guys. Our purpose is to be able to enjoy life, live life, build in life. We create, we move forward, we don't stay still, and we don't go backwards. So today, keep that in mind. If you happen to see this, think about what that means to you. And then from purpose starts deriving all these other aspects, happiness, pleasure, hobbies, goals. You start developing relationships, you start developing all these different character traits and purposeful life traits that, had you had no purpose, had you just been floating around, bouncing around, I know plenty of guys that from high school, man, they aren't doing much. They make every excuse in the book as to why they can't do something. Well, if that's all you're here for, and then that's your purpose, is just to make excuses and to not get anywhere and expect everyone else to give you that leg up, and then you're just going to let everyone else down again. And people get really tired of that. So, if you're looking for a purpose, find it. Find it within yourself. Find it within your own being as to what you're going to do with this life, what you want to do with this life. If you can't figure out that you've got one life, time goes by faster the older you get, then, there's no helping you. There really isn't. Until you're really willing to get off your butt and really, you know, put some time and effort and work into yourself. You know, that also means taking care of yourself. If you're not taking care of yourself, well, how do you expect others to see you as an example and maybe inspire them to take care of themselves or to find purpose? So, with that today, I might pop in a little later today, follow up, and go from there. I am working on setting up some interviews with other guys within the trade so that we can all sit down and have these talks, because one thing I've found in life is, you know, you try and help someone and they say, well, bro, my life is different. I grew up way different, whatever it is. And, you know, that's cool, man. That's cool. I get it. We all did. We all grew up different. We all had different childhoods. Some of us were harder than others. Some of us have had a harder adult life than others. However, we can all learn from each other. It doesn't matter if you grew up in the hood, poor as shit, or you grew up as a trust fund baby. And, you know, well, actually it does, because trust fund babies don't give a shit about anything. However, you're a guy who was well taken care of growing up. Dad made good money, mom made good money. Hell, your parents are still together. You know, you got a lot more going for you than most of us, you know. Quick background on me was I had a lot of bad things happen as a kid, and they're all things I really don't want to talk about, other than, you know, we'll start with this is, you know, when I was about 10, my parents divorced. Didn't have a solid home really for a long time. My dad tried to be, and God bless that man, he did everything he could to keep me straight. Went to a decent high school, ended up having race riots and shit in the first couple years. That ended up being a nightmare. Graduated, you know, I did things like, let's be honest, you know, I did unsavory things like sell drugs when I was younger, you know, to make money, things like that. Why? Because, you know, it helped get the girls. I played music for a long time. I was a drummer in a rock band, multiple rock bands over the course of my late childhood and early adulthood. Ended up stopping that just because, you know, I had what everyone else had in their head, you know, in their ear at the time, which was everyone telling them to grow up. You know, music's not gonna do this, music's not gonna do that. When, you know, I laugh today because, you know, we now live in a day where, you know, an individual person can create something, publish it onto YouTube or another platform, and they don't need a record company anymore to gain the notoriety, popularity, and to have their music heard. It's an amazing world we live in, you know. You wanted a world that was easier to make something of yourself, by yourself, this is it, guys. You're not going to get a life any easier. You know, going back to my childhood was, you know, I floated back and forth between friends' couches up until I was about 20. And then about 21, got my first apartment. And, you know, I was dating girls. I had a girl move in my first apartment, which, guess what? Huge fucking mistake. Had another girl, you know, come around and see, which was cool, you know. They leave and you're back to your own life, and that's nice. That's how you want it. You want to be able, if you're just going to date and you don't want to get locked down, which I don't recommend any young man get locked down to at least their 30s. You know, don't play that game, dog. You're gonna lose so much money, you're gonna lose so much time if you do that. Nevertheless, getting back to it is, after that, moved into another apartment, got locked down with that chick. She ended up being crazier than nuts and squirrel shit. So I was like, okay, well, this isn't gonna work. So when she left, ended up meeting this gal. We ended up going to high school together. We really didn't like each other back then, and I'm not really sure how it all worked out for us, why we ended up getting together, other than, you know, I kind of liked her. You know, she wasn't exactly a number, like a fucking 8 on the hot scale or anything. She was more like a 4 or a 5. And but she brought comfort at the time. And when you live a life of chaos, sometimes someone's less version of chaos is comforting. That's the best I could relate that to. From there, moved out to the Bay Area, worked out in the union out there for a while. Did industrial, commercial heating and air conditioning, did some refrigeration, and eventually she kept saying that she was homesick. And during that period, we were living out of a hotel with 2 dogs out in the Bay Area, so it was not fun. It was not the environment I wanted to make for my partner. And you know, the goal state I had back then was, you know, if I put in my work, put in my hours, really learn, then, you know, I can go really far in this trade, in the union, and, you know, build a life, make a lot of money, and have a pension so I can retire. And what I soon found out was that's just not the case anymore. There's too many politics. It's all bureaucracy. It's, you know, whose D are you sucking today? And I got tired of that. You know, I was better than some of their 3rd and 4th year apprentices, and I was stuck as a tradesman at the time, you know, and I would get all the shit work, I would get all the crap work that, you know, the journeyman should have been doing. And I wasn't able to claim all my hours. You know, the journeyman would hog all the hours, and I might get 2-3 hours on a job even though I was there for 8. So with that being said, I ended up coming back to the Sacramento area, and you know, ended up moving in with her parents. Did not work well. That was horrible. Never do that. Biggest mistake of my life, I'd say. Ended up kind of becoming a lesser of a man day by day, concession by concession. By the time her and I split up last year, we had been together just under 10 years, bought a house together, had our own little family. We didn't have any kids because she didn't want kids, and I did, and I respected that. And yeah, another downfall of mine. I should have moved on sooner. I shouldn't have stayed. And I did. I stayed. That was my own fault. I learned a lot of lessons through all that. And when I came out of that relationship, you know, it's amazing that even though you went in strong, you went in pretty clear-eyed as far as what you were going to do, how you're going to live life, things like that, over a course of, you know, like in my case, better part of a decade, well, you know, it doesn't really do much for you other than make you lesser of a man. You know, you end up dying from 1,000 concessions. So what ends up happening is that by the time at the end of the decade, you're not the same person that you were when you entered in. And that's not cool, because the problem is that, you know, women want to say all the time how guys need to man up. Well, the problem is that, you know, you have guys that I think are truly genuine strong men or young men. You know, they have a good head on their shoulders. Maybe they don't know everything, and that's common. You know, no one knows everything. However, they can go in strong as fuck, being able to go, you know, say, look, these are my boundaries, don't cross them. By the end of that relationship, I was crossing all my own boundaries, and I was giving in to hers. So at the end of that relationship and realizing all this, I came across a book. I had heard it for years before, never really had any interest in reading it or anything else. And little did I know that that book was going to be the catalyst that brought me here today, reinvigorated my life, and brought me back to seek that purpose that I've been looking for. And that book was The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi. And believe it or not, it's got some funny parts, and it's a whole lot of serious. However, if you can read that book and take the information in the context with which he's giving it, That book has some wisdom that men from all generations can take. Reading that book kind of brought that candle back at me, brought that little flame back that was beaten down so much to say, okay, you know what? We are better than this. We are, man. We do control our own lives. We do control our own paths. So, reading that took a lot of time. You know, it took a couple months to get through, really see it, read it, and understand it. And then that's where I started watching some other videos from other guys within this space, you know, that he likes to be affiliated with, or that he's okay with being affiliated with, such as John with Modern Life Dating, Rich Cooper with Unplugged Alpha and Entrepreneurs in Cars. And then, you know, you had guys like Paul Benjamin with Apex Mindset, who came in a little later, or even Myron and Fresh with the Fresh and Fit podcast. You know, you want to see why girls nowadays aren't really valuable, watch those ratchet assholes that they bring on. You don't want to spend your time with that. You know, I'll put it this way: every chick can suck a D. Every chick has the capability of sucking a D well, but can she cook? Can she clean? Is she a good mother to your potential children? That's really where we got to look at, you know. And if you're looking at those girls and saying, yeah, I think that's the case, well, you know, you may want to be reevaluating your perspectives on things, because the fact is, you know, very few women in this day and age, I mean, shit, look at Aaron Clarey in the Book of Numbers. You have a 3% chance of finding a marriageable woman that is worth having a family with in this society anymore. And those are really damning numbers. You know, it says what kind of society we become, and it says what kind of society we're going to be. So, coming back to purposes, women should not be your purpose. Work shouldn't solely be your purpose. You should be your purpose. And with that being said, I think this is a good point to just kind of let us sink in. Maybe we just kind of let the video drop for now, and then maybe we pick up later. Maybe you have questions. If you have questions, or maybe you want to make a point, or, you know, have a conversation, I would love to do so. Please drop me a line. Otherwise, I will try and check in later today and figure out another good topic for us to talk about, or maybe we'll pick up on the purpose topic and figure out how we can expand on that and find a little bit more out of that. So, with that being said, it's 8 o'clock on the Western Sierras in the foothills. This is Tom with Blue Collar Masculinity. I'm out. I've got shit to fix. Bye-bye now.